My beloved child, there is something you must hear now, because silence has been protecting a lie around you for far too long. Someone close to you has been touching your emotions without ever touching the truth. They smile at the right moments, they say the right words, and they know exactly when to appear caring, but none of it is accidental. Every emotional moment you shared was carefully measured, not felt deeply. While you believed the connection was growing stronger, they were quietly observing how much control they had over your heart. This is not coincidence. This is not confusion. This is strategy, and it has been unfolding right in front of your eyes while you trusted them completely. Amen. 111. Listen carefully now, because this is where the illusion begins to crack. Their real intention was never to build with you, but to keep you emotionally dependent. Waiting, hoping, adjusting, and doubting yourself. They gave you just enough affection to keep you attached, and just enough distance to keep you insecure. When you felt confused, that was not weakness, that was your spirit sensing manipulation. They benefit from your emotional investment while giving back uncertainty, mixed signals, and half promises. And here is the shocking truth, they already know how this ends, but you were never meant to know, until now. Amen. 222. Something huge is waiting for you, and it begins with awareness. The moment you see through their emotional game, their power disappears. This revelation is not here to break you, it is here to free you. The same heart they tried to control is about to become the reason you rise stronger than ever before. What they intended to use against you will soon turn into clarity, strength, and divine protection. Stay with this message, because what is revealed next will change how you see this person forever. Amen. 333. There is a moment when truth stops whispering and starts shaking your soul, and this is that moment. What you are sensing now is not imagination, it is confirmation. This person has been mirroring your emotions, not sharing them. They studied your fears, your hopes, your timing, and used them to stay relevant in your life. Whenever you tried to move forward, they pulled you back with emotional crumbs. Whenever you questioned their intentions, they shifted the narrative and made you doubt yourself. This was never about love or care, it was about control without responsibility. Amen. 444. Understand this deeply, their biggest fear is not losing you, it is losing access to your emotions. They are threatened by your awakening because once you see clearly, their influence collapses instantly. That is why they delayed decisions, avoided clarity, and kept everything emotionally undefined. They wanted you emotionally invested but mentally uncertain. And here is the once-in-a-lifetime revelation, they never planned a future that included your peace, only a present that fed their ego. Amen. 555. A silent shift has already begun within you, and that is what they did not anticipate. The moment you stopped chasing clarity from them, the illusion started collapsing. This person depended on your emotional reactions to feel powerful, but now they sense something different, your energy is no longer feeding their games. They are confused because the same tactics that once worked are failing. Your calm is unsettling them more than any confrontation ever could, and that is proof that the truth is surfacing. Amen. 777. Here is what was hidden in plain sight, they enjoyed being needed more than being genuine. Your vulnerability made them feel important, but your strength threatens their position. That is why they avoided emotional accountability and replaced it with charm, excuses, and timing tricks. They never expected you to outgrow the role they assigned you. This awakening was never part of their plan, yet it is now unstoppable. Amen. 888. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is not behind you, it is ahead. The clarity you are receiving now is preparing you for a connection that does not drain you, confuse you, or leave you questioning your worth. Stay present with this message, because the next revelation will show you exactly what happens when someone realizes they can no longer emotionally control you. Amen. 999. Right now, the truth is standing between who you were and who you are becoming, and this person can feel the distance growing. They sense that their emotional grip is weakening, and that is why their behavior may suddenly change, either becoming overly sweet or strangely cold. This shift is not growth, it is panic. They are realizing that the version of you who once tolerated confusion no longer exists. Your silence is no longer emptiness, it is strength forming. Amen. 1010. What they never understood is this: emotional manipulation only works on those who doubt their worth. The moment you recognized your value, their influence began to expire. Every delay, every excuse, every mixed signal was designed to keep you stuck in emotional fog. But clarity has arrived, and it cannot be undone. The shocking truth is that they underestimated your awakening, and that mistake will cost them access to your life forever. Amen. 1111. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is arriving through release, not revenge. When you finally step away from emotional confusion, the space you create will be filled with alignment, peace, and a connection that feels safe instead of uncertain. Stay grounded in this truth, because the next message will reveal what happens after emotional deception ends, and how your destiny accelerates once you choose yourself. Amen. 1212. There comes a moment when emotional fog lifts completely, and you finally see the pattern instead of the person. That moment is now. What once felt like chemistry was actually inconsistency, and what felt like depth was repetition designed to keep you attached. They were never confused about you, you were confused because clarity was intentionally withheld. The truth is sharp, but it is also liberating. Nothing was wrong with you, everything was calculated around you. Amen. 1313. Notice how your heart feels lighter as this realization settles in. That lightness is not loss, it is alignment returning. The more you detach, the more power you reclaim. They may attempt to reappear emotionally, to test if the door is still open, but understand this clearly: their return would not be growth, it would be habit. And habits lose strength the moment awareness steps in. Amen. 1414. Something huge is waiting for you, and it will arrive quietly but permanently. It will not confuse you, rush you, or make you question your worth. It will feel steady, clear, and mutual. Stay with this transformation, because what you are stepping into next is the life you were always meant to live, free from emotional games, grounded in truth, and protected by clarity. Amen. 1515. This is the phase where your silence speaks louder than any explanation ever could. You are no longer reacting, no longer overthinking, no longer chasing emotional consistency from someone who thrived on imbalance. And this is exactly where their influence ends. They can feel that you are slipping beyond their reach, not because you blocked them out of anger, but because your soul no longer resonates with manipulation. This calm you carry now is not accidental, it is the sign that emotional sovereignty has returned to you. Amen. 1616. What happens next is something they never prepared for: irrelevance. When emotional control is removed, there is nothing left for them to hold on to. The attention they once received effortlessly now feels forced. The emotional leverage they relied on no longer exists. And here is the shocking truth: once someone loses access to your emotions, they also lose the version of you that made them feel powerful. That chapter is closing, not with drama, but with dignity. Amen. 1717. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is already aligning behind the scenes. A new chapter that does not require you to shrink, doubt, or emotionally overextend is preparing to enter your life. This is not a reward. It is a reflection of who you have become. Stay rooted in this clarity, because what unfolds next will prove that choosing yourself was the turning point your destiny was waiting for all along. Amen. 1818. Now comes the moment of undeniable truth, where your inner strength fully replaces the need for validation. You no longer replay old conversations in your mind, searching for meaning. You no longer wait for messages that once controlled your mood. That emotional hook has been released, and with it, the invisible chains they placed around your heart have fallen away. This is the phase where peace feels unfamiliar, but powerful. Amen. 1919. They may sense your detachment and attempt one final emotional pull, not because they changed, but because they feel exposed. When manipulation stops working, urgency appears. When control fades, confusion replaces confidence. Understand this clearly. Their reaction is proof that you were never imagining things. The moment you stopped giving emotional access, the truth revealed itself without words. Amen. 2020. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is approaching faster than you expect. A connection built on honesty, balance, and emotional safety is being prepared for you. This time, there will be no guessing, no mixed signals, no emotional exhaustion. Stay anchored in this awakening, because what comes next will confirm that walking away from emotional deception was the most powerful decision you ever made. Amen. 2121. This is where transformation becomes visible, even if you say nothing at all. Your energy has shifted from seeking to knowing, from questioning to trusting yourself. You are no longer available for emotional confusion, and that boundary is felt deeply by the one who once tried to influence your heart. They recognize that the version of you they could predict is gone, and that loss unsettles them more than words ever could. Amen. 2222. What you are experiencing now is not loneliness, it is clarity settling in. The silence around you is not empty, it is clearing space. Emotional manipulation thrives in noise, doubt, and constant engagement. But you chose stillness, and stillness reveals everything. This is the once-in-a-lifetime realization. The moment you stop reacting, truth becomes impossible to hide. Amen. 2323. Something huge is waiting for you, and it will arrive when you least expect it, but exactly when you are ready. It will not test your worth or play with your emotions. It will feel aligned, steady, and genuine from the beginning. Stay present with this awareness, because the final unfolding will show you how far you have come, and why this awakening was necessary for the destiny now opening before you. Amen. 2424. This is the stage where your intuition becomes unshakable, and nothing can deceive you anymore. You no longer second-guess your feelings or override your inner voice for anyone's comfort. The lessons have integrated, and your awareness is now instinctive. What once confused you now feels obvious. The emotional fog has lifted, and with it, the need to justify why you walked away. You didn't leave because you were weak, you left because you finally saw clearly. Amen. 2525. They may still think about you, not with love, but with disbelief. Disbelief that you broke free without confrontation. Disbelief that you chose peace over explanation. This is the consequence they never planned for, your emotional independence. When someone loses the ability to influence how you feel, they lose their significance in your life. And here is the deepest truth: your healing was never about them, it was about you returning to yourself. Amen. 2626. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is rooted in authenticity. The next chapter will not require emotional armor or constant vigilance. It will feel natural, mutual, and safe. Stay steady in this awareness, because what unfolds next will confirm that every moment of confusion led you exactly where you were meant to be, stronger, wiser, and completely free. Amen. 2727. This is the moment when your past no longer has permission to speak over your future. You are standing in a place of emotional clarity where old patterns cannot follow. The triggers that once pulled you back have lost their power, and the memories that once hurt now feel distant, almost neutral. This is not forgetting, it is mastery. You did not suppress the pain, you transformed it into wisdom, and that wisdom now guards your heart. Amen. 2828. What they failed to realize is that emotional manipulation always collapses when met with self-respect. You no longer look for closure from someone who thrived on leaving things unfinished. Your closure came from understanding. And understanding does not need permission. This is the shock they carry silently, you healed without needing them to change. That realization alone ends the cycle forever. Amen. 2929. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is unfolding with divine precision. A season of alignment, honesty, and emotional security is opening before you now. You will recognize it instantly because it will not demand effort to feel right. Stay anchored in this truth, because what is coming next is not a test, it is the reward for choosing clarity over chaos and yourself over emotional deception. Amen. 3030. This is the phase where your confidence no longer announces itself, it simply exists. You walk differently now, not because you are trying to prove anything, but because you finally trust your own judgment. The emotional wounds that once shaped your reactions have healed into quiet strength. You no longer feel the urge to explain your choices, because deep inside, you know they were necessary. This calm certainty is the result of everything you endured and overcame. Amen. 3131. What once drained you now has no access to you. The emotional games, the uncertainty, the waiting, all of it fades when self-worth becomes your foundation. They may still wonder how they lost their place in your life so completely, but the truth is simple: you stopped negotiating your value. And when that happened, the dynamic changed permanently. This was not rejection, this was evolution. Amen. 3232. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is built on mutual respect and emotional truth. The next chapter will meet you at your level, not pull you down to confusion. Stay rooted in who you have become, because what unfolds from here will prove that your journey through emotional deception was not a detour, it was preparation for a life that finally feels aligned, steady, and whole. Amen. 3333. This is the moment when your presence alone becomes your boundary. You no longer need distance, silence, or explanations to protect your peace. Your energy does it naturally. People feel the shift before you speak, and those who once tried to test your emotions now hesitate. This is not hardness, this is self-respect refined through experience. You have learned the difference between empathy and self-sacrifice, and that lesson has changed everything. Amen. 3434. The truth is, emotional manipulation only survives where there is confusion. But you are no longer confused. You see intentions clearly, not through words, but through consistency. That is why the past no longer pulls at you. You are not bitter, and you are not closed, you are simply aware. And awareness is the end of every emotional game. This clarity is rare, and it is powerful. Amen. 3535. Something huge is waiting for you, and it will recognize you instantly because it matches your growth. The next season of your life will feel balanced, secure, and deeply real. There will be no emotional guessing, no inner conflict, no hidden motives. Stay grounded in this awareness, because what comes next will reflect the strength you built, and reward the patience it took to get here. Amen. 3636. This is the stage where your life begins to respond to your inner alignment. Opportunities feel smoother, conversations feel lighter, and your intuition guides you without struggle. You are no longer attracting situations that test your worth, because you no longer question it. The emotional lesson has been fully integrated, and now your energy is tuned to honesty, not intensity. This shift is subtle, but it is powerful beyond measure. Amen. 3737. What once felt like a loss is now clearly a release. You did not lose someone valuable, you released a pattern that limited you. And that release created space for something far greater. This is the truth they may never fully understand: you did not walk away in anger, you walked away in clarity. That clarity is the reason your path is opening while theirs remains stuck in repetition. Amen. 3838. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is already recognizing your readiness. The future you are stepping into will not replay old lessons, it will build new experiences. Stay present with this transformation, because what unfolds next will show you that every emotional test you passed was shaping you for a life that finally feels honest, peaceful, and deeply fulfilling. Amen. 3939. This is where your story quietly turns powerful, without noise, without announcements. You are no longer reacting to the past or proving that you were right. You don't need validation, closure, or apologies to move forward. The strength you carry now is calm, grounded, and unshakable. You have become someone who cannot be emotionally misled anymore, because you trust what you feel and honor what you see. This is not the end of a journey, it is the beginning of a higher one. Amen. 4040. The greatest truth is this: emotional deception was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to awaken you. What tried to confuse you ended up sharpening your awareness. What tried to drain you ended up building your resilience. And what tried to control you lost its power the moment you chose yourself. They were a chapter, not the story. And chapters close when the lesson is complete. Amen. 4141. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is already aligned with the person you have become. A life where emotions are shared honestly, intentions are clear, and peace is constant, not conditional. Stay steady in this knowing, because what unfolds next will confirm that your awakening was divine timing, and your future will no longer tolerate anything less than truth, respect, and emotional freedom. Amen. 4242. This is the moment when your soul finally feels at home within itself. You are no longer scanning for hidden meanings or bracing for emotional shifts. Your heart is calm because it is no longer negotiating with uncertainty. What once felt heavy has dissolved into understanding, and understanding has matured into peace. You didn't harden, you healed. And that healing has changed the frequency of everything around you. Amen. 4343. There is a quiet dignity in how you move forward now. No resentment, no need to expose anyone, no desire to look back. The truth already did its work. You recognize now that emotional games end when one person refuses to play. This is the power they never expected you to claim, the power of walking away without bitterness and standing firm without fear. Amen. 4444. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is arriving as stability, not chaos. As clarity, not confusion. As mutual effort, not emotional imbalance. Stay grounded in this truth, because what comes next will feel so right that you'll wonder how you ever settled for less. This is not luck, this is alignment finally meeting you where you stand. Amen. 4545. This is the chapter where your inner world becomes unbreakable. You no longer fear emotional loss, because you have already found yourself. The anxiety that once followed uncertainty has faded, replaced by trust in your own discernment. You know now that peace is not something others give you, it is something you protect. And because of that, nothing false can remain close to you for long. Amen. 4646. What you have stepped into is emotional maturity, and it changes everything. You are no longer impressed by words without consistency or gestures without depth. Your standards are not walls, they are reflections of self-respect. This is why manipulation no longer finds a doorway. You see clearly, you feel deeply, and you choose wisely. Amen. 4747. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is grounded in truth and reciprocity. The life unfolding ahead will honor your growth instead of testing it. Stay anchored in this awareness, because what comes next will confirm that every emotional trial you survived was shaping you for a future that finally feels safe, balanced, and whole. Amen. 4848. This is the moment where your journey reaches completion and renewal at the same time. You are no longer becoming strong, you are strong. The lessons have settled, the wounds have closed, and the emotional noise has faded into silence. You move with certainty now, not because everything is perfect, but because you trust yourself completely. This trust is the greatest protection you have ever gained. Amen. 4949. What once tried to manipulate you now has no memory left in your nervous system. The past cannot trigger what has been healed. You do not replay it, analyze it, or explain it, you have transcended it. This is the final truth. Emotional deception loses its power the moment self-awareness becomes permanent. And that permanence is now yours. Amen. 5050. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is already unfolding as a life of clarity, emotional safety, and inner peace. The chapter you are entering will not test your worth, it will honor it. Stay grounded in this knowing, because your transformation is complete, and the future ahead will finally reflect the strength, wisdom, and freedom you worked so hard to claim. Amen. 5151. This is where your story stops echoing the past and starts creating its own future. You are no longer shaped by what happened to you, you are defined by how deeply you understood it. Your presence now carries certainty, and that certainty repels anything unclear, unstable, or emotionally dishonest. You don't have to protect yourself consciously anymore, your awareness does it automatically. This is the reward of inner mastery. Amen. 5252. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to fix, and nothing left to wait for. The emotional chapter that once demanded your energy has closed itself completely. You are not guarded, you are free. And freedom looks like calm choices, clear connections, and a heart that knows when to open and when to walk away. This is the highest form of strength, and it cannot be shaken. Amen. 5353. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is already aligning with your truth. A life where emotional honesty is normal, not rare. Where peace is consistent, not temporary. Stay rooted in this clarity, because what unfolds from here will not surprise you with chaos, it will meet you with stability, respect, and the quiet certainty that you are exactly where you were meant to be. Amen. 5454.